This is just a quick shout out for the Trans Cafe. That's going to be this coming Wednesday, the 4th of March, from 7 till 9. The topic is about how self-esteem and anxiety and the fear of death can really affect how you are in the world, can affect your mood. We all know that there's always something to be fearful of, to worry about. A huge potential pandemic at the moment is going to be coronavirus, where we can see that there's the potential for millions of people around the world to die. You could become infected. There's always things to worry about. You could be worrying about the seemingly zero effort some governments are doing to protect their citizens, where their greatest concern is the effect on commerce and capitalism and trade. You also get one infamous person who's trying to almost brush that under the carpet and get some political leverage on it, calling it a hoax by an opposition party. There is always things to worry about. A fascinating book that I'm rereading at the moment is called Worm at the Core. And this is really insightful and deep in the sense that it covers kind of three main topics. One of them is, like, where did, how did so-called religions, ways of being come from? What was their purpose? Don't want to get into the mythology of that just yet. One aspect of that is for human beings, or the evolving human beings as they were, to put off the death terror that many face. Now, when people are confronted with their own obvious impending death one day, unless we all get uploaded into a cloud and live cyber lives, who knows? That massively affects a person's, not just their self-esteem at a psychological level, also their behavior as well. Now, a little story from Worm at the Core. It's a fascinating one, and it's about a judge. Worm at the Core has some, well, just literally two questions, and they're used to evoke a person's own anticipated experience, which will be part of their beliefs, their values, etc. And what's even more astounding from this is the effect that these questions can have on people. So they can be used to shape how you behave, how you think, and as a reflection on that back to your own self-esteem, or that map of yourself. The most useful definition of self-esteem that I've come across so far, it's a mythical beast. Most people talk about self-esteem and they don't really know what that means. And that's no surprise. It is one of those words that lots of people use in general conversation, yet have never really reflected back. The most useful definition I've come across is from Steve Andreas, and self-esteem is basically an evaluation of, are you living in accordance with your own values, your behaviors that match those values? If you are, you have high self-esteem, and if you're not living in accordance with those values, you have low self-esteem. Something useful from Worm at the Core as well is, in the society we live in, very capitalist, get the next big thing, upgrade your phone. Like, it's a society of almost never being fulfilled wants and needs and desires. And something interesting that comes out of that is, in the society we live in, especially in the West, most people, me included, will never reach those echelons of having everything that you want and desire. And that's basically affects people's self-esteem too. So this fascinating question that was put to a judge just before he was going to sentence someone, it's this. Question one is, when you consider your own death, what emotions does that evoke in you? When you consider your own death, what emotions does that evoke in you? And judge writes such and such down. After that, it says, okay, so when you are in the process of dying, what do you think will happen? And after you're dead, what do you think will happen? So when you're in the process of dying, what do you think will happen? After you're dead, what will happen? So the judge does all this. He then goes on to sentence someone. I'll go into the story a little bit more in the night. As a result, as far as can be attained from those two questions, the judge whacks on 9 times the average sentence onto this person. And of course, we all know judges are not meant to be biased, and we know from psychological research that they are. If you're ever unfortunate enough to be being judged, don't be the person that's just before lunchtime. Chances are you'll get a higher sentence. And of course, definitely don't be a person who's, let's just say, like non-white. There's a clear evidence that non-white people, people of colour, black people, Asian people, get disproportionate sentences. Now, getting back to where this comes from, when a person experiences death, perhaps of a loved one, a partner, they lose something really important to them, it evokes, in some sense, their inner conditioning, maybe of a religious, maybe following some charismatic cult leader. It really evokes those initial sets of behaviours, and that can make people become then hyper conservative, hyper religious, or it can give people a really low sense of self-esteem. Getting back to fear and anxiety, what I'd like to do on the Trans Cafe is explore very briefly some of Carl Jung's ideas in terms of his basic analytical psychology, thinker, feeler, sensor, and tutor. And then from that, I want to map that across to something that comes from Bardo Tudol, the Tibetan Book of the Dead, or more accurately, the Book of Living in the Between. This is the between. So as a person dies, the myth is, you move down through your chakras until you come to the throat chakra, Vishuddha, which means purgation, getting rid of stuff. And there's 4 Jnani Buddhas and a 5th one in the center. Now, each of these have characteristics. And the idea, the exploration of the mind, will be examining certain aspects, certain areas in your life, and then we're going to apply the teaching, if you like, or the idea, if you like, of each of the Jnani Buddhas. And that's Akshobhya, Ratnasambhava, Amitabha, and Amoghasiddhi. And then at the center, Vairochana, Great Sun Buddha. And this comes from Buddhism, which it's not a religion, it's a way of being in this world, where you really are encouraged to explore your own inner meanings. And this is my idea of taking these aspects, if you like, characteristics, and exploring both sides of each aspect. So you bring into the idea, the sort of tantric idea that there's no good, there's no bad. They are complementary. So this is what I'm wanting to explore. It's a very easy process to learn. It'll be easily memorable. And with a little effort, it's something you'll be able to apply in your own life, and it's something you'll be able to use with your clients. So this is not an antidote. It's a way of really exploring where our ideas of self-concept come from, and also very much to get that balance and ongoing transformation. So it's a way of getting balance and the ongoing transformation of the human life in connection with others. Very, very important. So I hope to see you on Wednesday, the 4th of March from 7 till 9. I'm just off now in a few minutes to have some food with some very, very good friends, good company and a giggle. And I hope, my friends, to see you this coming Wednesday. Bye for now.